starting with the early prelim opener of Loic Radjabov versus Esteban Ribovic. This was a very short notice bout put together. Esteban Ribovic was supposed to be taking on someone else, and I believe it was Camwell Kirk, and Loic Radjabov is stepping in on short notice to take on Ribovic, and I think he's going to win on short notice as well. He's very experienced, he's been at PFL, he's fought a bunch of great opponents, and Esteban Ribovic hasn't really fought too many great opponents in his career. We move on. Up the card, Farid Basharat versus Damon Blackshear. I'm going to go with Farid Basharat here. Damon Blackshear is good. He's dangerous. He's a finisher, but this one of the Basharat bros. You know what I mean? You can't go against the Basharats. We move on. Up the card, Jessica Penne versus Tabitha Ricci. I'm going to trust in Tabitha Ricci. Jessica Penne is 40 years of age. We move on. Up the card, Mana Martinez versus Cameron Saaiman. I'm going to go with Cameron Saaiman here. Mana Martinez is good. He's crispy. He's got decent boxing. I just think he's a little bit limited, and I think that Cameron Saaiman can take this fight in a few different places if he wants. We move on. Up the card, Ian Machado Gary versus Kenan Song Kenan. I'm going to go with Ian Machado Gary, of course, the simp. I'm going to go with him winning this one over Song Kenan. I reckon he'll get a KO as well, to be honest with you. Song Kenan, best days behind him. We move on. Up the card, Julian Marquez versus Marc-Andre Barriault. I'm going to go with Marc-Andre Barriault. Julian Marquez is dangerous, but he's wild, and I think you have to be a bit more technical to catch a guy like Marc-Andre Barriault. He seems to do well against wild opponents. We move on. Up the card, Vivian Araújo versus Amanda Ribas. I'm going to go with Amanda Ribas over Vivian Araújo. I think she looked good against Caitlin Chookagian. There's an argument that she should win that fight, although I don't think it's really the case. I don't think she did win the fight. Vivian Araújo's very good, but I think Amanda Ribas has a lot more potential in the future of her career, whereas Vivian Araújo, 36 years of age, getting to that point where... We move on. Up the card, Derek Brunson versus Dricus du Plessis. I'm going to go with Dricus du Plessis with his guillotine. I'm going with guillotine win for Dricus du Plessis. I know, but he has a lot of them, and I've been waiting for one of them to cash. And Brunson seems like the type of guy, don't get me wrong, mate. Let me know if I'm wrong or not. Brunson seems like the guy who will be stumbling in after getting cracked on the feet, shooting for panic takedowns, and getting latched up by that Dricus du Plessis guillotine. We move on, up the card to another fight, which is Cody Garbrandt versus Trevin Jones. I'm going with Trevin Jones over Cody Garbrandt. I'm taking the underdog of Trevin Jones. I just can't trust Garbrandt anymore. I want him to win. Maybe I'm covering for myself here. I can't pick him to win and just watch him lose again. We move on to another fight up the card, which is Jamie Pickett versus Bo Nickel on the main card. This is a big one. I'm going with Bo Nickel, of course. I think Jamie Pickett's going to be dangerous, but you got to go Bo Nickel here, I think, over Jamie Pickett. There's just not much in Jamie Pickett's game other than, I guess, athleticism. This one, we move on. Mateus Gamrot versus Jarlin Turner. I've got to go with Mateus Gamrot here over Jarlin Turner, purely because Jarlin Turner, he's very good, and he is a good underdog to pick here as well, because this is a dangerous fight for him. This is a dangerous fight for Gamrot, I mean, as well. Like, just in general, a very, very dangerous matchup for both of them. We move on. Up the card, Jeff Neal versus Shavkat Rakhmonov. I'm going to go with Shavkat Rakhmonov. I do not agree that he should be a 6-1 favourite here. You got to stop doing that, odds makers, okay? Because it makes me want to pick Jeff Neal, and I was going to pick Jeff Neal. But nah, I've got to go Shavkat. Jeff Neal, he's had a couple good performances. We move on. Up the card to another fight, which is Valentina Shevchenko versus Alexa Grasso. I'm going to go with Valentina Shevchenko here. I think Shevchenko, there's a thing about her where maybe she looked at her division and thought, this is going to be so easy forever. I need to like maybe take a bit of time off and not really work as hard. Okay, we move on to the main event. Jon Jones versus Cyril Gane. Will the curse of my main event picks live on? I'm going with Cyril Gane to upset Jon Jones. I'm going with Cyril Gane to upset Jon Jones.